So I don't know about you, Mark, but I think it's always really fun when we get a chance to talk. So I appreciate it. Aside from the radio, I just enjoy it. So, and to know that you have allies, in the world, and it's not totally gone is really encouraging.
But it's great to see. It's great to see in awakening. People are starting to wake. We did a rally in London. There was about 50,000 there.
Yeah.
From the first talk I did my first talk in a little pub in Gateshead. There was about 20, 30 people there. And, right. To go to a venue where there's 30, 40,000, well, it shows that people are starting to wake up. And this whole lockdown scam, this pandemic,
right,
it's basically playing into our hands because people are exploring the fact that, there's something not right. They want to try and look into something or just try and, get the head up out of the paper, get the head up out of the, the mainstream media and do a little bit of research. I've always said, not for anybody to believe anything I say. I understand that from cognitive dissonance perspective, it is extremely difficult for people to get their head around the words that are coming out of my mouth. But it's up to you to actually listen to the word, do the research, ask the right questions, look at drone and weapon systems, look at direct energy weapons on the battlefield, look at what 5G is, look at what the industry is putting out, look at the fact that it's uninsurable, look at the fact that it's untested. It's untested for a reason because it wouldn't pass the test. It can't pass the test. The weapon system, it is only masqueraded as a telecommunication system. We've got industry people. I speak to industry people all the time. They would be horrified if they thought for 1 minute they were fitting a weapon. Unfortunately, that is exactly what they are doing. They're fitting a weapon system. They just don't have the technical capability or the scientific knowledge to understand what it is that they're deploying.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the theories I've got about the frequency weapons and also the vaccines and all this other stuff is that they're only untested as far as the publication of results goes. I don't believe that they put out these weapons and they have no idea what they're going to do. So I think they're very thoroughly tested to make sure they do the damage. It's just that's not the kind they report.
Well, it goes back to Herman P. Schramm. Dachau, they carried out a number of electromagnetic radiation tests on camp inmates. You know exactly what they can hit you with and what they can cause. You know exactly what the what sort of levels of radiation, this non-ionized radiation that people will tell you is perfectly safe. You know exactly how much they need to expose you to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they have the same thing with the current vaccination development. I think they test them. Maybe they find people in South America or Africa or somewhere where they're not going to be publicly known about, but I think they're all tested. And just because the theme of the rulers is to be very meticulous and they're very detail oriented, they don't just say, well, maybe the vaccine will hurt people and maybe it won't. We don't know exactly how. I think they know exactly how. And it's just that publicly they don't have any tests to show.
I think a lot of them, Richard, don't understand because, they are unfortunately part of the dream spell also. So where you get Bill Gates is all about the cash. He obviously wants to decrease the world's population significantly, but does he know he's going to die as well?
I don't think he knows.
I don't think he does. Well, he doesn't know because obviously he's working for Satan, but you see, Satan's the great deceiver.
But he expects to be left in a really good position.
He's not going to be left in anything. I mean, like I said, when you take down one of those nuclear power stations, how does he think he's going to survive on this planet? So let's see all these controllers and, these elites who've been, put in promised land.
They haven't thought it through very well.
Can you imagine going underground with an ideology that wants to kill all biological life on the planet? Not coming out. Simple.
Well... Exactly. I guess they have packaged food, so they'll be fine. And they don't realize the intricacy of interweaving of the biosphere, that you even kill one major insect species and you may not survive, let alone the whole thing. And they're doing the whole thing right now.
Yeah. Well, you can see all the pollinators are being totally, annihilated.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think any of it's unexpected side effects. It's at the top level, they plan everything.
Yeah.
So, but what it seems to me is that the regular people are carrying around so much unconscious power that they don't know about because they're not trying to be evil. And what can flow through them is way beyond what the bad guys could imagine. And they know that at the top level. So their top priority is to make sure we never become conscious.
The whole plan is to stop you from reaching your, let's say, true capability.
Normal state, basically, your forgotten normal state.
Your forgotten normal state. Your normal state, your light.
Yeah.
We are the Creator's creation. We're made in His image.
So that's what can flow through you.
Yeah.
If you can wake up and get out of the way, that's true. And I think that's their biggest fear. So in a way, it's our guidance of what we need to do.
Yeah. Well, you don't need telecommunications. I mean, if you think from a telepathic perspective,
right?
You can actually, we could speak at distance. You just dial somebody up in your head and start having a conversation. Well, that would be pretty clever.
Yeah,
so we'd absolutely have that capability.
Oh yeah, that's just ordinary stuff.
Yeah.
It's just that we've been totally brainwashed to forget who we are.
Yeah.
And that's not by accident.
Totally deliberate.
So all we have to do is turn it around and become ourselves again, right?
Yeah.
And I think if a certain critical mass that's a small minority actually does that, not saying it's their belief, but really does it, so their experience of everyday existence is totally different, it could spread to everybody else.
The universe is basically an energy field, and energy has to be in balance. Absolutely. Whether you call it good and evil, whether you just call it positive and negative, whether you call it, because I've got, a lot of people, they don't believe in the creation and the creator and Satan and all the rest of it. Unfortunately, I never used to. I only came across this about a year and a half ago. I've never ever been religious ever. And, I've never had that. I always knew there was a creator, a larger power, because I understood the quantum fields. I understood about the matrix, and I understood that it had been created because it hadn't been from a big bang. Who would create an illusion? If we were real, if we were a physical biological structure, then, I could understand the whole Darwinism bullshit thing. But when I understood that the whole thing's just an illusion, well, you understand that obviously somebody's had to create it.
Yeah, it's actually a projection of consciousness.
It's a total projection. So it's a projection, it's a light projection. We're just light. The whole thing's an illusion. And I'm thinking, hey, whoever built this must be really, really clever.
Okay, so we're in a movie, right? A very high-tech movie in a way.
Yeah.
And part of it is our part in our experience in life is being projected from inside ourselves because our source is connected to that. And so if that's the case and we're in the middle of that stream, we could change it.
It's all predetermined.
Yeah.
We don't change it. We're just actors in it.
Well, it's predetermined, but we have the experience of free will.
We have the experience of free will.
It's predetermined in the sense that if somebody knows everything about you, they could accurately predict your free will decisions. And in that sense, it's predetermined.
Well, it's all predetermined. Your sign-ups, when you go to make let's say you're driving down the road, you go to brake in the car, about 10 seconds before you actually even see the car pulling out in front of you, your sign-ups is already firing, actually make you do the braking.
Right.
So that basically proves that the whole thing's just one massive illusion. Yeah. Proves the whole thing up as a massive illusion. It fits with the whole simulation hypothesis. I mean, obviously, Nick Bostrom doesn't go into the creator side of it. He just goes on about the whole thing's just, it's just this simulation.
That's what they call science, yeah.
Yeah, that's about as scientific as it can get. And obviously, the fact that there's no mass. It's just like radio. It's just like frequency. It's all frequency. It's all light.
Right. Well, if you look at an atom, it's almost 100% empty space.
It's all empty. There's no mass.
And that's supposed to be the building block of solid matter.
It's no matter. There's no matter, there's no mass.
Yeah,
So
I
just
totally
energy
agree.
fields. In fact, I know
Right.
what it looks like.
It's tuned in by frequency to our senses, so that we'll perceive it as real and be able to interact with it.
You
But
have to be able
if
to
you
see
tear
it as,
yeah,
yeah.
otherwise we couldn't function here. But if you tear it apart, there's nothing there except vibration and frequency and
It's exactly.
energy and consciousness.
Yeah, that's all it is. All light.
Well, a lot to
All right.
work with. And that's one reason for people not to be discouraged, because the dream is going to resolve and we're going to be fine in the long run.
Well, once it's, the horror show is going to continue until enough people wake up and push the energy field out of balance.
Yeah.
The problem that we have, there's far too many people going along with the horror show, wearing the masks, all satanic, carrying on with the 6 people, 6'6" apart for the next 6 months, all satanic agenda. And it's not until people throw off that black magic, because it's not real. So you've just got to throw it off. Once you throw it off, and then that's it, it stops. But the problem that we have, there's too many people who are, just believe it. Believe the...
Right, and that gives it a sense of reality and power.
Gives it absolute reality. It's like the whole climate change narrative is real only because people believe it.
Yeah.
It's not real. Scientifically, it's a total fraud.
Right.
But it becomes real. It has a value. It has an economic value. I mean, I was talking to a very large trader. He's got a number of massive funds where they're trading. They're basically bet against certain technology players.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the whole CO2 thing, and he said it's real because people believe. Well, no, he said, I know it's total bullshit. But he said these large corporations have to have it factored into their business plans, because the people have been brainwashed to such a degree by the fake media and fake government narrative that it becomes real. It's a reality. So It's a financial reality, even though it's fake.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same as what we're seeing with this whole COVID hoax narrative. The whole thing's fake.
Yeah. So we could use that creative power in a positive way instead, to make things real that are actually in harmony with the real reality. So I think that would be a good idea.
It's all a good idea. They're all good ideas. Nothing wrong with a good idea.
No. Okay. Yeah, what we're trying to do, I actually, the group that you were just speaking to, the purpose of that group was to work on the level of changing the dream. And it's going to be really interesting. I mean, at first when I started, I thought, since I've been involved as a health scientist since the 1960s, and real health information is violently suppressed in our country and most of the world. So I was going to share that in that closed group, but then it quickly got into consciousness and becoming aware of ourselves as not these costumes that are really great and alive and everything, but they're not us, and not the mind, but the operator of those things that is working through them. And as I developed some tools to change perception so that people can become aware of themselves as separate and above those other things and use them consciously. And where we're going from there is there's a basic idea of resonance, which is when you change that frequency of your own awareness, it starts to affect everybody else at any distance. And so we're trying to expand that group so that it's got more people all over the world in it. And we're focusing it in a series of exercises that by resonance can harmonize energy outward. And I mean, most people would say you're completely crazy. You can't do anything like that. It's just another stupid belief system. But I think,
it's all true. It's all about
think we can.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. I can, from a scientific perspective, I can see you're absolutely on the money.
I'm working on a lot of different levels, but one of them is looking for politicians that are susceptible to changing course and becoming conscious as they should. And they're rare, but there are some. And I just talked to one in Denmark yesterday. And what he says is start another branch of this private meeting for Europe and Asia and Africa time zones, so that they don't have to be up at 2 a.m. to join us. And we're going to do that. He's in touch. There's a whole group of doctors called World Doctors Alliance and some other ones. They're suing the government in Netherlands and some other places. And they're trying to tell the truth about the pandemic and all this stuff. We want to get them into this private group. And also the people in the political party that this guy in Denmark is starting, and get more.
Is that Mads? Is it Mads Palvik?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, Mads, but
yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
And they're waiting for a proposal from me right now of how we set up the group in the Europe and UK and Africa time zone, so that we can get those people joining us. Because if we have more points of, it's another kind of radiation, basically. It's just
radiation. It's all. Once people lift that, one of the things, if people lift the vibration, and I think if they understand, the outcome of where we're heading to is this ascension.
Yeah.
Understand, all I have to do is build up that, we're here for a reason.
Yeah.
This is a time in history where we are being specifically chosen. I mean, if I go back through, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I was one of these kids where you'd be terrified. If you had a child like me, you'd be really worried. I was really interested in weapons when I was a kid, and when I won an award when I was 11, and I got about £7.50 to go to a bookshop in Newcastle with a deputy head to buy a book. So anyway, gets there. He's got to print the book because I'm getting a presentation. You're the good lad in the class. It's when at junior school. And when he gets to this Stone's bookshop, and he says, right, you've got £7.5, just pick whatever books you want. So anyway, at the time, £7.5 was a lot of money. So anyway, I got a book on intercontinental ballistic missiles and small arms when I was 11. So then I had to present this with these books. So you can imagine, so they're telling, people are standing out and they go, and Mark's, and he's like, so they had me down as some crackpot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I've always had this very, very perverse interest in weapons.
Uh-huh.
And I explain this to people, if you give me a chair leg, I'll see a club. If you give the same chair leg to a joiner, I'll see a chair leg. I see things from a totally different perspective, and this is one of the reasons why I can spot this equipment, because I don't see it as a telecommunication system. For instance, the power density of the equipment tells me immediately that is not required for a telecommunication system.
Right.
The power density, the capacitance, it's not required. Your mobile phone operates with a 3.5 volt battery.
Yeah.
These transmitters on the street furniture have got 450 volt. We've got 280 in and 450 volt capacitors on the antenna board. Well, that tells me we've got a massive amount of power. If we've got a 3,300 watt relay, it allows you to switch that power as it's coming in and charging the capacitor. You can then fire it at a rate depending on the discharge through that antenna. So immediately I saw it as a weapon.
Right.
Now, a lot of people who, from a telecommunications background, probably looking and think, it's a telecommunications system, not understanding the amount of power that you require to create a weapon, and not really thinking critically about the fact that you do not need anything near that type of power or power capability or switching capability for an antenna, for a delivery system to an antenna. You do not require it. And obviously, I was proved to be correct. It's a weapon. And we've now got all the technical documents from a whistleblower in China to confirm what I've always been saying.
Right.
The 5G system, the weapon system, and the power density. I mean, you can take a city down with these arrays.
So if humans are not indoctrinated, well, if they've broken the indoctrination and if they're not controlled by it, they have something called direct perception. They can look at something and they know what it is. And our education has been to remove that ability so that we just remember what we memorized and don't even see what we're looking at. But I think it can come back. And in fact, what I found is that even the worst of the bad guys that are so programmed, they believe they're completely evil, they're satanic, they're devoted to death and suffering and all this stuff. Under that programming, those people are made out of the same thing as we are, because we all came from the same source. And if we get strong enough in our normal condition that's forgotten and bring that back and resonate with the other people doing the same thing, we could rescue some of the people who are the main bad guys.
Well, I had a scientist from CERN contact me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I really do need to try and help you. And I said, well, the first thing you need to do is start praying for forgiveness.
Yeah, that would be good.
I said, that's the first, your first protocol.
Yeah.
Start praying for forgiveness, because I can tell you now what's coming. Not going to be very good for you do it.
I think we can even open this new group that's going to be for the people in UK and Europe and Asia and places like that, to even people within the negative power structure like CERN, and the ones who are open to finding out more than they know right now and maybe changing. Because we shouldn't exclude anybody.
No, don't exclude anybody. They all have an opportunity to repent. You know, nobody wants to die. Nobody wants their soul to go to hell. I mean, some of the people, unfortunately, well, like I said, I'm not the judge. The Creator will be the judge, not me.
Well, that's true. In fact, what made me think for a long time I couldn't talk to anybody, and I'm probably keeping you up too late. I apologize. I'll try to shut up in a minute. But I was born with some memory of time before this lifetime. And it really affected me because it wasn't from a belief system. It wasn't from a book. This was way younger than any ability to do those things. And it's really come back strong now in the last 12 years or so, I guess, especially. And now I have no worry about our long-term future. But the other thing is I realize we're made, some things in the Bible I really think are important and deep and true, although it went through the hands of editors in the religious system, and they did their best to cut out most of the important stuff that they wouldn't allow. But some of the things in there, like made in the image of the Creator, that's not, saying that your physical body is exactly the right proportions and everything. We're something deeper, and it's not destructible.
There's quite an interesting gift I was given.
Sephir, that's not something I know about.
This is the Bible with the all the missing pieces.
That sounds like a fantastic book. Yeah.
Fantastic book. Yeah. And that was given to me by Dr. Stephen Pidgeon. Also, it's quite an interesting one, I think, for you. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, Richard. When I was in London, there was a guy got murdered at the event. They were attacked by the police. There was a couple of people assaulted, and one guy got murdered. And prior to him getting murdered, he'd actually come up to me at the security before I spoke, and he said, "I've got a present for you." And I said, "What is it?" He says, "No, I've just got this present for you." So anyway, he gives us this stone. This is a stone here. Yeah. So anyway, I puts it in the pocket, pops off to Scotland. And anyway, I was with this lady in the car going back to Scotland because we had to meet this Dr. Stephen Pidgeon. And like I said, she's the person that introduced me to the whole spiritual side of this whole horror show. And anyway, when the vehicle going back, and I said, "Oh, by the way," I said, "I read the paper this morning. The guy who gave us a stone, I could tell because he had a pair of red trainers on and a pair of shorts. And there's, so he didn't look the normal sort of person. And he was lying on the floor, and the police had bashed his head in. And I said, "But what he did, he gave us a stone." So she said, "A what?" And I said, "He gives us a stone." She said, "You can't take stones off people that can put spells in them and all this sort of thing." Right? She said, "Where is it? Where is it?" So anyway, I give her so it was in my pocket because I'd left it on the back of the chair and back of the car seat. So anyway, I goes, it's in my pockets anyway. I give her it. So she starts praying. And she's praying, and she starts crying. Then she starts screaming. And she goes, have you seen the stone? And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I'm going to have to.
It looks kind of translucent.
Well, this is the stone, right? But it's actually got a lion's head.
Okay, I see. It looks like there's something on the outside.
You see the lion's head?
Like a clear shell, and then inside is the solid shape.
It's a stone.
What do you call it?
It's been fashioned. Well, it's been fashioned to throw.
Yeah,
it's actually got shape. Actually, in the natural stone, there's a lion's head.
Okay, I can kind of see it. It's beautiful.
It's actually got a lion's head there.
Yeah.
You see it in the light. It's best to see it in the light. I've got a great picture of it. It's really, and I was like, that's all prophecy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's all prophecy.
I mean, I thought originally that I could never talk about this kind of stuff because people would all think it was totally crazy. But one of the times I remember is from the end of the Essene period. And there were some interesting people there. It was still a lot of corruption and stuff. This was a couple thousand years ago, but Jesus was walking around at that time. And we had direct exposure to some of the things that he was teaching that never got into scriptures because he wasn't going around writing and he didn't have a scribe traveling with him.
Well, that's an interesting one, Richard, because his name wasn't Jesus. Jesus is actually a Greek god.
Sorry, my pronunciation. Yeshua. And it was pretty amazing. And a lot of the stuff makes all of it makes complete sense. And I felt like I don't want to tell anybody what to think at all because I believe in freedom, but I have to share this stuff because it's valuable. And we need to use it right now. And it puts everything together with this quantum physics level stuff and the consciousness level and the projection and the movie and the dream. This is all integrated. And we have an opportunity to change people for the better without even talking to them.
Yeah.
And that could really be helpful right now. I don't want to see their agenda be completed because there's already way too much suffering going on.
No, we win.
And, when it's almost like all these people that don't understand and are going through this horrible experience and everything, even the bad ones, it's like us in other forms. And I think it's the basis of when he said, love the other person as yourself. The only way you can honestly do that is to know that they are yourself in another form. And on a really deep level, they are, because there's only one being that ever really existed. And that's still the case, except for the dream. But if we become conscious of how we used to be aware of that and let it go through us, I don't think we have limits. Because
definitely not.
Our source doesn't.
Yeah. No, the source doesn't, so why should we? Yeah.
We could have a good time with the rest of this, healing everything.
Excellent.
Anyway,
definitely can. Anyway,
I'm sorry to keep you so long.
It's all right.
Yeah. Have a good night. And
great to speak to you, Richard. Speak to you soon.
Have a good rest tonight. Okay.
Bless you.
See ya.